last lesson for chapter 11, okay? Similar figures. Okay, what do we know about similar figures?
They're similar.
The ratios are the same.
No.
The ratios of the sides are the same, and all the angles all have to be congruent, okay? So, also, okay. So, also, whoops, I didn't mean to write that, but here, perimeters are proportional.
Oh, wait, who? Oh, alright. No, I got one.
And they have the same scale factor, okay? Which is what we were just saying. It has the sides have the same ratios. Okay, so area. Max, remember our chat yesterday?
The sides have the same ratio.
What are we supposed to do about that?
Stop saying that.
Wait, this
Stop.
Okay. Area. Two polygons are similar. Their areas are proportional to the square of the scale factor. So think area is always squared. So that means, here's an example. If these two are similar to each other, that means the area of one of them compared to the other, you could take any two sides and just square them. You can look at the ratio of the squares. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say this is the length of 3 and AB is 2. Then the area of FGHJ to ABCD would be equal to 3 squared over 2 squared, which would be 9 to 4. Okay, so whatever the sides are, we just square it to find the ratio of the area. Okay? For each pair of similar figures, find the area of the figure on the right. Okay? Okay, so 8 squared over 5 squared has to be equal to 32 over x. You make that any variable, right? Because that's going to be, we're going to say this, the area of this will be x. It doesn't matter what variable you pick, right? So we have 64 over 25, I heard.
Wait, why are you doing it to 32 over x?
Oh, is it 50?
Because it's like you have to match it to the 6.
Okay, now what?
Oh, 64x equals.
I have 25.
I'm just going to leave it as 32 times 25.
Yeah, it's kind of like a.
Can you tell him not to spoil the answer, please? Next time.
He enjoys it.
Okay, so here we go. There's a reason I wrote it. There's a reason I did not multiply out the 32 times the 25. Because 32 goes into 64 how many times? Yeah, it goes in 2 times.
Can you not?
So it's 25.
It's not. It's him. And
Okay, 25 over 2 square centimeters.
But don't you... Oh, wait. But don't you multiply before you divide? So multiply the 32 times 25.
So the order doesn't, when you have multiplication and division, you can simplify.
Okay.
So what I like to do, because sometimes you don't always have a calculator available, especially next year in Algebra 2, there's a lot more like no calculator parts of tests and quizzes. So this is the kind of problem where, why would I multiply out 25 and 32 if I see that I can just simplify it from there? Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, so we have,
Can you do it with any of the sides of the shape?
yeah, I mean, as long as they're corresponding, if they're matching. So I have 6 squared over 8 squared equals 13.5 over, we'll call that x again. So this will be 36 over 64. So 36x.
It's actually He didn't say it. He didn't
No,
say it.
he
Hey.
whispered it to me.
That's so
Just
bad.
that's wrong.
I use
Okay.
so
That's not
That was math.
That was math.
Is it wrong? That'd be funny.
Is that what
That
you
would be
got?
really funny. Is that right?
I don't know. Did you plug it into your
I
calculator?
did. I hope that's right.
So Oren plugged it into his calculator and he got
I have a 24 over 100.
24.
Oh,
Dude, or
Should we take his word for it?
no.
Oh.
calculate.
Please be wrong.
Scary.
Please be right.
64 times 13.5.
4 doesn't go into 36. I mean 36.
Oh, you're right.
It's a
So
class.
in this case, it doesn't go in evenly, but you could simplify it still. What?
What about two?
Doesn't 4 go into both of these?
Oh, 4, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Here, go, do it to him. Do it to Matt. Do not show me what you said.
Oren, you were correct.
He's so mean.
Oh.
Oren, stop being mean.
I'm not mean. I'm sweet.
What?
We didn't talk.
Okay.
We're just here.
It's a broken house.
All right. We're going to give, so use the given areas to find the scale factor and then solve for x. Okay, so first thing, how would we find the scale factor? Okay, but remember the areas are squared, so we're going to take the square root. So the scale factor is going to equal, so we're working backwards, where we want the square root of 50 over the square root of 72, right? Because when you have the sides, you squared them. Now if I'm trying to work backwards and I have the area and I want to find the scale factor, right? What's the opposite of squaring? Okay, what's square root of 50 in simplified form? 5 root 2.
Wait, you don't do it equal to the other sides?
Okay. The first thing we do is we want to find the scale factor. So we're working backwards.
I got 0.83.
What's square root of 72?
I got 0.83.
Wait. What's square root of 72?
6 root 2.
6 root 2.
Oh my god.
Okay, so what cancels?
The 2s.
The root 2, so I just get 5 over 6. Okay, now I can make a proportion. Of course,
Isn't it just like there?
it's going to be 5 over 6 equals x over 6.
I told
Which-
him the wrong number. I told him 6 instead of
It's
5.
this.
So, wait. Isn't it just going to be
Why would I do that?
5?
Yeah.
I could.
I don't need to do any work for that. Okay, next one. So I want to compare the square root of 400 over the square root of 64. What's the square root of 400?
20.
20. Oh, does that simplify further?
Stop it. Wait, no.
5 over 2.
It's not 5 over 2. Oh. I cannot work in math class, period.
Okay, so 5 over 2 has to equal what over what?
40 over half.
40 over x.
16.
No.
Isn't x over 6 the scale factor? Or 40 over
16.
x?
I just realized I haven't been putting units. That was inches. This is millimeters.
Oh, there's another side. Oh.
Wait, you wanna find
No.
the scale factor now?
Oh,
The
no.
area.
Alec, you might want to memorize this one.
Okay, let's.
Are we finding the area or the size?
No, read the directions, Ariel.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, I'll come back to it. Okay, Quick review of quadratic formula, right? So sometimes things factor, sometimes they don't. Okay, this one happens to factor, but let's do this by quadratic formula. What are the values of A, B, and C? A is 1, B is 7, 6 is C.
Wait, why are we doing it?
Just a quick review, because
Can't you do like
so negative.
A and M thing that we did
Yeah, you can.
for this one, but if it doesn't factor, then you use quadratic formula.
And which is still technically, no, but that's.
It says use the quadratic formula.
Says solve.
Yeah. So I want to practice quadratic formula.
Yikes.
So 49 minus 24 will give us 1 under the radical. It'll be square root of 25, which will be 5. Okay, so that's going to give us 2 answers. So we have negative 7 plus 5, which would be negative 2. Negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. Or negative 7 minus 5, that would be negative 12 over 2. Okay. Okay.
Will we need this for the test?
There may be some review stuff in there. Okay, first thing we have to do is move the 12 to the other side. And same thing, right? So we'll have, this is just t equals negative 11 plus or minus. What's 11 squared? 121 minus 4 is 1.
Where did you get negative?
Oh.
So it's b squared. Wait, which one negative?
No, for the previous problem.
Where did I get what?
Negative. I mean, negative 1.
Because negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2.
Oh, so then why is it negative 1? Negative 2 divided by 2 negative 1.
Okay, so t equals, okay, so that'll be 121 plus 48, right? So that's going to give us square root of, which is a perfect square. It's equal to 13. Okay, so negative 11 plus 13 will be 2. 2 over 2 is? And what's the other value?
Negative 12.
Negative 12. Okay, because we got integer answers, we know those would have factored. But when we get to problems like the next one, are there two numbers that multiply together to give us 12 that add up to 10? No, so that means we're going to have a radical in our answer.
If like a problem like this comes on the test and it's factorable without doing the quadratic formula.
If it says just solve, then you're fine. If I say solve using quadratic formula, so I get minus 4 times 12. Okay. 100 minus 48 under the radical, what will that be? Would that, I'm going to calculate. 52. What's the square root of 52? Is anything go into that? Yes. 4 times 13. So it's going to be negative 10 plus or minus 2 root 13 over 2. What happened? Can we simplify this further?
Yes, you can.
Okay, but we have to make sure it goes into both parts, right? So it'll be negative 5 plus or minus root 13. Last one, Rose, you said
No
it's,
solution. No solution.
okay, so V equals negative 5 plus or minus, that'll be 25 minus 4 times 3 times 11. What do we get under the radical? A negative What did you guys get under the radical?
Negative 107.
Negative 107. Okay, so we say no